I'm speaking to Ariette Van Strien, Senior VP for Commercial Operations at Marken, who's here today with Clinical Trial Supply Europe event. Ariette, you're very welcome. I'd like to begin by asking you, CROs are becoming more crucial in the industry. How do you work with them at Marken, and will they remain a future stakeholder in the future?
Yeah, in fact, absolutely. So if you look at the industry in itself, so pharma companies have recognized that they want to push further down their decision making in order to reduce their fixed costs and of course, push the risk down to CROs. What that means is that CROs now, they also are deciding on the supply chain side. So we have seen that growing. We see that they are lacking the experience on how do I ship my drugs, what are the regulatory challenges, depot network, how do I need to use a depot network, yes or no. So for some of these large CROs, we have become their extended partner. So when they get a request from their pharma companies, we advise them on the global network, on the regulatory challenges, how to approach it from a customs perspective. So it becomes a really efficient triangle partnership between the pharma company, CRO, and the supply chain organizations. And I see that definitely growing in the future.
Great, Ariette, thank you. Last year at this same event, you said that 80% of products in phase 1 to 2 were biologicals. What does the situation look like now, and what impact does this mean for temperature control in the clinical supply chain in the future?
Right. So the percentages really did not change that much. In fact, the only thing we see changing is that the drugs are now in phase 2. And more in phase 3. One of the bigger points I presented today is that when you look at the success ratio for biologics, in phase 3, for example, 54% of biologics are successful versus 44 for small molecules, 82 for registration versus 78 for small molecules. So there is a faster way to get biologics through, to get them approved. And what that means for us in the industry is more complex. The supply chain will become more complex. The biologics are more expensive, so you need to be sure that the integrity of the supply chain is in fact controlled, you have the risk assessment in place. So it is in fact growing. What we predicted last year continues to grow, and I think another factor I presented today is we have doubled the number of countries in which we're running clinical trials since 6 years. So not only the biologics are coming through, but we run trials in much more complex countries.
For you, Ariette, what are you looking forward to most in developments around clinical trial supply in the next 5 years?
It's to find new models. I mean, the interesting part for us is pharma companies have a clear mandate to reduce costs. So you either stay with the transactional model we have in place, so the supply chain organization is subcontracted at the last moment. This is my drug, you need to ship it out into this country, so many patients, etc. Or you start shifting the whole focus to a strategic approach where you say, my compound is successful, so biologic coming through to phase 2, and now let's get together and really look it through by indication. Can we optimize it? Are there different ways we can optimize the supply chain globally to reduce the costs and make sure that the patient receives the drug in time and mainly is not impacted? Because we always talk just about the drug, but at the end, 50% of biologics are oncology. So the patients are severely impacted if the supply chain is not maintained.
Ariette, why are events like Clinical Trial Supply Europe so important to an organisation like Marken?
I think for the mixture of people we have here. So for one part, it's very important for us to, again, meet other vendors as well. Of course, either the competition or other vendors we use, and then the pharma companies. Today was very important on the new regulations, the GDP guidelines coming out, listening to the USP initiatives coming out. What does that mean to us as an industry? So it's networking, but it's also being aware of all the latest changes in the industry and understand as well what are the struggles of our industry. So I think these events are really good to have that kind of networking possible there.
Ariette Van Strien, thanks so much for your time today.
You're welcome, thank you. Good.